Another great improvement to Illustrator CS6 is the enhancement of the Gaussian blur function. In Illustrator CS6, the Gaussian blur runs much faster than it did in previous versions, while also providing a live preview of your artwork. So in this video, I'm starting with the blur.ai file already open on my computer, and you can see I actually have two versions of this logo that we'll be working with. Now we're going to ignore this first one for now. We'll come back to that in a little bit. But down here, we just have a logo that I want to add kind of a drop shadow effect to it, or really just a cast shadow. And so what I'm going to do is, using my selection tool, I'm going to go ahead and click on the shadow to highlight it. And because it's grouped, all of the content is highlighting together. Now, the Gaussian blur function is found under the Effect menu, Blur, and we'll choose Gaussian blur, same location as in previous versions. But you'll notice that the dialog box is a little bit different. There's no longer a small preview section here. We actually get a live preview in our artwork. So if I go ahead and click the preview button, we'll see immediately what this blur is going to look like to the affected artwork. So I'm just going to drag this up to about 15 or so. And you can always just highlight the value and type the number inside of there. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And you'll see that the blur really, for this particular artwork, it's not very complex. It runs pretty much instantaneously. There's not really a status dialog or a status bar showing us the process. So it's much, much faster than it was in previous versions. Now, the reason I have this version up here is because if we come over here to our appearance panel, I'm going to go ahead and click on the shadow that I just created. And you're going to see that I have the Gaussian blur listed in the appearance for the selected item. So we can see that we have the Gaussian blur effect applied, and it has an opacity of 40%. Now, while that's open, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click on this version of the shadow. And you'll notice that this particular instance says Legacy Gaussian blur. And you're going to notice this whenever you open up a file that was created in a previous version of Illustrator. You'll notice that with this shadow selected, it says Legacy Gaussian blur, and that's because this was created in actually CS5. And it's because the technology has changed between previous versions of Illustrator and CS6. So what Illustrator does is it does honor that Legacy Gaussian blur, but still allows you to edit it. So for example, if I were to click on this FX button and bring up the Gaussian blur window, we can make a change to it. So I'll just drag it up to a much higher value just so we can see what this is going to do. And I'll go ahead and click OK. Now you'll notice that the minute I make a change to that, it no longer says Legacy Gaussian blur and changes to the CS6 version of Gaussian blur. So being aware that Illustrator CS6 treats blurs created in previous versions of Illustrator a little bit differently is an important thing to know. And knowing that you can still edit those blurs will give you peace of mind that legacy artwork will transfer over to CS6 properly. I think once you use the new Gaussian blur and see how fast it is for yourself, you'll appreciate it even more than before.